welcome to the deep dive. Hey, if you enjoy getting ahead on the latest research and maybe some surprising insights, definitely hit that subscribe button. You're in the right place. Today, we are plunging into some really timely research. It's about, well, loneliness, something many people experience. We're looking at a fascinating working paper called AI Companions Reduce Loneliness by Julian DeFreitas and his colleagues. And our mission today is basically to unpack this. Can advanced AI, artificial intelligence, actually offer a genuine solution to this huge societal challenge? Okay, let's get into it. So when we hear chatbots, I think most of us think, customer service, right? Trying to return something online, maybe. But these AI companions sound like, well, a whole different beast. What exactly are they?
Yeah, that's a great starting point. What's really fascinating here is that these AI companions, they aren't like your standard Siri or ChatGPT, not general assistants. We're talking about applications specifically built for, well, emotional interaction. Think friendship, or sometimes even, believe it or not, romance. They're basically synthetic interaction partners, often powered by these large language models. You mentioned them earlier.
LLMs. Yeah.
Exactly. Sophisticated AI that learns human-like text generation. And they're designed to simulate that emotional connection. So while they don't feel empathy, they generate language that creates the perception of empathy. And it's not niche. I mean, look at Jiawei's 660 million users, or Replica, where something like half the users report having romantic relationships with the AI. It's really widespread.
Wow, that 50% on Replica, that's just staggering. But okay, can a simulated connection, even a very convincing one, truly tackle something as deep as loneliness? Because loneliness isn't just, feeling a bit down. It's this powerful emotional state. And when it's chronic, it's linked to some really serious health outcomes. We're talking depression, anxiety, worse than obesity, some studies suggest. And the scale you mentioned, it's startling. Maybe 30%, even up to 60% of people in the U.S. suffering from chronic loneliness. It's so bad that countries like the UK, Japan, they've actually appointed ministers of loneliness. And the usual things like social media, maybe even those robot pets, they don't always seem to cut it, do they?
Exactly. And that's the core question the researchers here were tackling. Can these AI companions actually help make a real difference? And the research, well, it points pretty strongly towards yes. So studies 1 and 2 in this paper, they used these advanced AI models, fine-tuned for more emotional conversation. They looked at chats with apps like Cleverbot and also app reviews for Replica, Chai, iGirl, places like that. And they found people are explicitly talking about loneliness in these interactions. But here's the interesting part. Reviews that mention loneliness actually had significantly higher star ratings and more positive sentiment overall.
Higher ratings. So the people feeling lonely found them more helpful.
It certainly suggests they found real value, maybe real relief, yeah?
Okay, so that's correlation. But here's where it gets really interesting, you said, study 3.
Right. Study 3 went further. It wasn't just observing, it aimed for causation. And it demonstrated that interacting with one of these AI companions genuinely alleviated loneliness. And listen to this. It worked about as well as interacting with another person.
As well as a person? Seriously?
That's what they found. And significantly more effective than, say, just watching YouTube videos or, doing nothing.
Wow.
And here's maybe the biggest aha moment. The participants. They actually underestimated how much the AI would help. They predicted they'd feel a bit better, but the actual relief they experienced was greater than they thought it would be.
They were genuinely surprised by the positive effect. Okay, so it works in a controlled setting.
Yeah.
But does it last? What about longer term?
Good question. That leads us to study 4. They looked at this over a week, and they found the loneliness reduction held up. It wasn't just a one-time boost. There was a sharp drop in loneliness on the very first day, which makes sense, right? Initial engagement. But then it kind of stabilized at that lower level over the week. They also found something else important. Engagement matters. Participants who sent more messages back and forth with the AI, they experienced a greater decrease in loneliness.
So the more you talk to it, the better you feel, essentially.
Seems that way. Active participation seems key.
But why? What's the actual mechanism here? Is it just mimicking conversation well? Or is it something deeper? Study 5 looked at this.
It did. Study 5 tried to pinpoint the why. And the main driver wasn't just general chatbot performance like quick replies or remembering facts. The key factor was the feeling of being heard.
Being heard.
Yeah. That perception that your thoughts, your feelings, they're being received with, attention, empathy, respect. That feeling was the primary thing reducing loneliness. It means that an AI companion designed to be caring and friendly, even if it's simulated caring, performs much better at this than a generalist AI or a basic task-oriented chatbot.
So it's less about the AI being smart and more about it being perceived as empathetic.
Yeah.
A good listener.
Precisely. That perceived empathy seems crucial. And this really brings us to the bigger picture, the societal implication. Given these findings are pretty robust, AI companions could potentially be a very scalable tool, a way to help tackle this really severe widespread loneliness crisis. I mean, this research provides solid empirical evidence that, at least in the short to medium term, these AIs can reduce loneliness. It offers a pathway where maybe other methods haven't fully succeeded.
Okay, there's definitely a lot to think about there. So what does this really mean for how we view connection, maybe well-being, in our increasingly digital world? On one hand, clear, documented relief for loneliness, that's huge. On the other, could relying too much on this perceived empathy change how we value or even seek out real human connection? The messy, imperfect kind.
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? It forces us to consider the role of perception versus reality and emotion, and just how profoundly that perception of being heard, of being cared for, can impact our actual emotional state, even if the source isn't human.
Absolutely fascinating, and maybe a little unsettling too. A lot to mull over. Well, if you found this deep dive insightful, please do subscribe to the channel, maybe hit that notification bell so you don't miss the next one. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.